Hey everyone, it's Jace, and welcome to my guide for very hard Cawpine Caverns. This might be less of a guide and more just be showing a run that I'm proud of. I'll be talking about ways that you can adjust the trance abilities to make it easier, but you can see my combat power is at 216k, which is pretty high. For this run, I'm bringing Red XIII, finally getting to bring him into a high-level video, and I'm running Matt and Yuffie as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the equipment here. For Matt's outfit, I'm bringing Killer Attire. In his main hand, we have Overboost 6 Killer Hornet. In his offhand, we have an OB1 Slick Beetle. For his summon, I'm going to be bringing Hellfire. Matt's going to be our main DPS, so having Hellfire in him is going to be pretty good. Materia, I have a 4-star Thundara Blow, a 4-star Fire Blow, and a 4-star X Ruinra. Really, X is the only sigil that you need in this entire place. Sub-equipment, we have Overboost 6 Mad Minute, we have Torn Wing, and we just have an OB2 Bald Eagle. Here are Matt's R abilities, if you are interested in seeing them. Next up is Red XIII. So I did pull on the most recent Red XIII banner and got his Canyon Duds, so that's what he's wearing. His main hand, we have an OB5 Platinum Collar, just one more away before I can bring that to OB6. We have Rage Collar in his offhand. This is, for those who aren't familiar with it, single target fire damage. He's not going to hit that hard, he's going to be our healer, but we have that anyway. Maxed out Sled Fang for his limit break. 4-star Ruinra Blow X. Bringing a Breach Materia, here are the stats on it. Then we're also going to be bringing a Fire Breach. For those who aren't familiar with Red XIII, his Sled Fang is similar to Tifa's Somersault. It charges really fast, but instead of debuffing defense, it debuffs attack, both physical and magical. And then for the Platinum Collar, which I have in Red's main hand, the third support materia is a buff-debuff extension. So I have a Fire Breach in there, and that coupled with Red XIII's outfit means he's going to be having some pretty long debuffs. And on top of that, if we take a look at his sub-weapons, one of the ones that we're running is 4-point Shuriken, so even more buff-debuff extension. He's also running an Overboost 6 Hardcore Squad just for healing, and then he's got the Hell House Cannon for some HP and some physical defense. Here are his R abilities, if you are interested in seeing them. 1 point away on heal. I didn't even realize that before I started recording this. That breaks my heart. Anyway, Yuffie. We have her original outfit, the Winter Moogle from her very first banner. We have Arctic Star at Overboost 2, so she's going to have some pretty long buffs and debuffs. We have Boomerang, which is her fire resist down weapon. And then for her limit break / summon, we're bringing Judgment Bolt, since any enemies that aren't weak to fire are weak to thunder. For her materia, 4-star Ruinra, also X Sigil. Again, only X Sigil is what you need. Fire Blow, 4 stars. And then Thundara Blow at 4 stars. Sub-equipment, we have Black Whiskers at Overboost 2. We have Buster Sword at OB5. And we have Left Go Kipselli. And for our abilities, if you're interested in seeing them, here they are. So level 4 buff debuff extension. Alright, so that's the crew we're using. Let's go ahead and get into the run. Alright, we're going to grab this chest, and the first thing we're going to do is head to the right and fight the Motorball. I really don't like fighting the Motorball later in Crisis Dungeons, so typically if he's one of the bosses, I'll fight him as soon as possible. Both of these side adds will die from one Thundara Blow from either Yuffie or Matt. So we do that, I'll wait until the attack gauge is full so that Matt's Killing Slash will destroy 3 of the Diamond Sigils, and from there, I'm just going to break the sigils with all 3 characters. We're going to let Yuffie and Red handle the last 2 there, break the last one with Thundara Blow, buff Matt and Yuffie's physical attack with Vice's Spirit, and from there, we're just going to hit it with Thundara Blow until it's dead, which doesn't take very long because it's the first fight. 66,000 points from a 52-second fight, not too shabby, and for our first trance ability, we're going to take the Score Boost. If you're following this guide and you find that it's too hard to survive later on in the dungeon, I recommend taking the middle trance ability there instead of the Score Boost. It actually makes the rest of the Crisis Dungeon way, way easier. We're going to head towards the Scorpion Sentinel, the red one, and we're going to fight our first random encounter. So I have a couple of goals for this random encounter. I want to make sure that Yuffie ends the fight with plenty of ATB. I want to make sure that Red XIII heals us up. And I want to make sure that Yuffie has Judgment Bolt ready. It's not too difficult to do, it's still early on in the Crisis Dungeon, so these adds shouldn't be all that strong. That's really it. I literally left this in just in case anybody didn't know that Yuffie does that at the end of fights. Anyway, the Red Sentinel, we're going to throw a breach, we're going to use Feisty Spirit on Yuffie, she's going to buff herself and Matt, and we're going to use Judgment Bolt. Judgment Bolt is going to completely obliterate the ads, and is going to deal quite a bit of damage to the boss. From here, I'm going to hop on over to Matt and make sure he uses Thundara Blow because I want Yuffie to have at least a little bit of ATB left for the next fight. And that's the Scorpion Sentinel down. 71,000 points after a 10-second fight. And for our trance ability, we're going to take the Fire Potency. We've now killed all the enemies that are weak to lightning in the Crisis Dungeon, so we can lose the Lightning Potency. And I've tried a full score boost run. It doesn't work very well for my team. The last fight takes too long. Alright, the Assault Scorpion, we're going to throw a Fire Breach, use Yuffie's Fire Resistance Down debuff to bring it to max tier, and we're going to use Sled Fang and Hellfire. Sled Fang is just going to make us take less damage from the boss for the rest of the fight, and Hellfire is going to absolutely obliterate the ads and deal a lot of damage to the boss. Now the boss is eventually going to poison one of our party members, but poison stops ticking when the boss dies. So we're going to be using as much fire damage as possible on all three of our characters, and the boss isn't really going to live long enough to deal all that substantive damage to our party members. And that's the end of the fight. $68,000 points, 23-second fight. And for the trance ability, we're going to be taking the score boost. This one's pretty safe to take. If it, for some reason, gives you any problems, feel free to take a different trance ability. We're going to grab the key over here, and we're going to head back down towards the Elena fight. But before we get to that fight, we're going to have our second random encounter. So this one's actually pretty tricky. I'm going to take out the middle one as quickly as possible because he buffs himself and hits really hard and is super obnoxious. But for the rest of this, I actually have a couple of goals. I want to heal up as much as possible with Red XIII, and I want to make sure that Matt and Yuffie have their summon gauges maxed. So what I'm doing here is I'm swapping to defensive stance anytime I'm going to use an attack on Yuffie or Matt, and I'm trying to only use their Ruinra attacks to build summon gauge without killing enemies too quickly. The thing you want to watch out for is these enemies use Blizzard, so you want to mitigate that, and whenever they use Avenging Will and go into Vengeance, you want to kill them before Vengeance gets off. Otherwise, they hit you really, really hard, and in some cases can even kill one of your party members. Now, I mentioned I wanted to heal everybody up, but unfortunately, all the ads focused down Matt the entire time, so really all I did was keep Matt alive and heal everybody else. So I'm going to have to use something to heal Matt up before I go into the Elena fight. I eventually ended up deciding to just use a high potion to give him all the HP that I possibly could, because Elena's going to start the fight by hitting us very, very hard, and I didn't want to risk it. So I'll sacrifice a few extra points to use a high potion instead of a potion, and we'll head into the Elena fight. So to start off, I'm going to throw a Fire Breach with Red XIII. I'm going to use his Sled Fang ability to provide some mitigation against Elena's AoE. And if Matt can use X-Shot in time, great. If not, it is what it is. So this is going to mitigate some damage, like I said. I'm going to swap on over to Yuffie and try to get her to use her Fire Resistance Down debuff to bring that debuff to high tier, but you gotta be safe because Elena's AoE goes off very, very quickly. So that's high priority, just making sure that you can mitigate that by switching to defensive stance above anything else. Alright, so we're gonna heal up, we're gonna swap to attack stance, make sure it gets max. We're not gonna use summons yet. She's gonna go into attack style, which lowers her physical and magic defense. We're still not gonna use summons yet. What we're waiting for is Gotcha Now. The reason we want to wait is if you use your summons right when she goes into attack style, you'll get lots of damage, but then she'll immediately go into defensive style afterward, gain a lot of mitigation, and heal up. If we wait for her line here, she'll go into cross combo afterward. She's still extremely weak, and we can kill her before she does anything else. And that's the end of the fight. 65,000 points after a 25-second fight. And for our trance ability, we're going to be taking the score boost. If you end up taking the score boost and it's too difficult to deal damage to the final boss, go ahead and use cocktails. We should have 5 fire cocktails at this point. Now for my team, in order to make sure that we can survive and deal enough damage to take out the ads quickly, I have to just use the Mega Elixir because we're very beat up. So I go ahead and do that. And if you didn't know, the extra boss is Yuffie, which I was very excited to see. I'm going to start off by using Fire Breach. I'm going to use Flurry of Steel from Yuffie. And what I should have done is use another Breach from Red XIII, but I kind of forgot. and I go into Sled Fang and the summons. Sled Fang is going to provide some mitigation for Yuffie's Landscaper. The summons are going to absolutely destroy the ads and deal a decent amount of damage to Yuffie. At least Hellfire is. Judgment Bolt is not really going to do a whole lot to her. Here I switched over to Red XIII and used Breach, and for some reason I used it twice. Couldn't tell you why. Definitely don't need to. It's not like I needed the debuff extension. It's not like I thought it would stack up to mid-tier or something. I don't know. It happened. We survived Landscaper pretty easily, and from here on, we're pretty much just going to be doing as much damage as we can. We're not going to do any healing with Red XIII. We're just going to be jumping across all our characters and hitting their fire buttons. She's going to buff her physical attack. We don't care. We've brought her down to the stream phase already. I wonder which one it is. It's X. It's always X. It's deterministic. It's always going to be X. She buffs her physical attack again. Doesn't matter. We just keep hitting fire buttons. She's not going to hit us because we're defeating her too quickly. We end the stream phase, so we keep hitting the fire buttons. And I think if I did just one thing differently, maybe use Red XIII's limit break there or something, maybe we could have killed her before she started complaining here. But anyway, one more fire blow is going to end the fight. And we're going to end up with 125,000 points after a 52-second fight. And that is the end of the Crisis Dungeon. We end up with a score of 1.886 million. If you found the guide helpful, please let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more clear videos and guides. Thank you for watching.